Welcome back to the deep dive. We are so glad you're here with us today. We're tackling a topic that honestly, it feels a little bit like, I don't know, like pulling back the curtain on a magic trick. You know that feeling. You watch The Magician, you're amazed. But once you see how the trick is actually done, where the wires are, where the trapdoor is, you can never, ever look at the performance the same way again.
Oh, that's exactly the right analogy for today.
Yeah.
Because once you see this, you really can't unsee it.
We've got a whole stack of research here, articles, trading psychology notes, some institutional analysis, and it starts with a pretty aggressive assertion. Right out of the gate, it basically says, if you're a trader and you only understand one thing about the markets, it shouldn't be chart patterns.
Nope.
Shouldn't be indicators, RSI, MAT, none of that. It has to be liquidity.
Absolutely. If you miss liquidity, you miss the entire engine of the market. I mean, everything else, the triangles, the flags, the trend lines, that's just decoration. Liquidity is the fuel.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think we all know that specific pain, right? That listener we talk about, the learner.
Sure.
You're looking at a chart, you see a setup, looks picture perfect. Maybe it's a bull flag or a double top. You place your trade, you set your stop loss exactly where the textbook told you to, and then what happens?
The classic scenario. Price moves just enough to hit your stop, kicks you out of the trade, takes your money. And then almost immediately it reverses and goes exactly where you predicted it would go.
Every single time. It is maddening. It feels incredibly personal. Like there's a guy in a room somewhere just watching my specific $500 account, waiting for me to click a button just to mess with me.
It feels that way to everyone who starts out. But what we're going to find out today is that it's not personal at all. It's mechanical. And the reason it happens is that most retail traders are, well, they're operating on a myth. They're trading based on shapes and lines. The institutional truth, as our sources call it, is entirely different.
So the mission for this deep dive is a total mindset shift. We are going to move away from the idea that price moves because, I don't know, a moving average crossed another moving average, and get to the real plumbing of the market.
Which is, quite simply, that price moves to find and fill large orders.
Right. So let's start with that core truth. The sources say, institutions do not trade charts, they trade liquidity.
Right.
That sounds great on a bumper sticker, but what does it mean? Why don't they trade charts? If I'm a massive bank, why can't I just look at the same double bottom as everyone else and buy?
It all comes down to physics. Or, maybe more accurately, logistics. Think about it this way. If you or I want to buy a share of Apple, we click a button. We're small. We get filled instantly.
We're agile.
Exactly. We're like a speedboat zipping around a harbor. We can turn on a dime, we can start and stop, and we don't disturb the water. But institutions, banks, hedge funds, market makers, they are super tankers.
They aren't trying to trade one lot, are they?
No, they're trying to move hundreds of millions of dollars. They face a logistical problem that we don't even have to think about. They cannot simply click buy.
Because there isn't enough on the other side.
Exactly. Imagine a super tanker trying to make a U-turn in a small marina. It just crashes into everything. If a bank just clicked market buy on a massive order, they'd eat through all the available sell orders at the current price. Then they'd eat the orders at the next price up and the next. They would single-handedly rocket the price upward while they were still trying to buy.
That's slippage.
Massive slippage. They'd end up buying at a terrible average price. They'd move the market against themselves.
So they would ruin their own trade just by entering it.
Totally. So they need a dance partner.
Or a stadium full of dance partners.
That's it. They need a massive pool of orders on the other side of their trade to absorb their volume. And that is the core principle we have to lock in. Price moves specifically to find those orders. It literally goes hunting for them.
So when I see price shooting up or crashing down, it's not because some indicator got too high. It's because the smart money needs to navigate that supertanker to a deep enough pool of water to turn around.
Precisely. Orders only exist where liquidity exists. So price seeks liquidity. It's not a pattern matching machine. It's an order matching machine.
Okay, so that brings us to the definition. We keep using the word, what is liquidity? Because when I hear that word in business class, I'm thinking of cash like, are you liquid? But here it feels very specific.
It is very specific. In the world of smart money concepts, SMC liquidity is not just volume. The sources define it simply as available orders in the market.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just random orders floating around. Liquidity is effectively where traders are forced to transact.
Force. That sounds a little ominous.
Well, it's just the nature of the contract. Think about what a stop loss actually is.
Yeah.
If you're buying a stock and you put a stop loss below the price to protect yourself,
Yeah.
What is that stop loss, technically? What are you telling your broker to do?
I'm telling them, if the price hits this level, get me out, sell my position.
Exactly. A stop loss on a buy position is a pending market sell order. Now imagine thousands, maybe millions of retail traders all looking at the same chart. They all see the same support level. They all buy, and they all dutifully put their stop losses just below that line. What have they created?
A massive pile of sell orders.
A massive pool of liquidity. That's where traders will be forced to sell if price touches that level. And that really is the aha moment from the source material. Liquidity is just a fancy word for where other traders are losing control.
Wow. Okay, that puts a totally different spin on it. So liquidity it's basically the wreckage of retail traders getting stopped out.
Or just getting scared out. And this isn't accidental. This is the next big point our sources make.
Yeah.
Liquidity is engineered.
Engineered. That implies intent. Are you saying we're being herded?
Well, think about where that liquidity comes from. It comes from retail behavior.
Yeah.
We're all trained by books, by YouTube, by all the standard courses to do very specific, predictable things.
Like buy the breakout or place your stop below the recent low.
Exactly. Sell the breakdown. Put your stop at the obvious level. Because we all learn the same rules, we all leave our orders in the same places.
We create these clusters, we're hurting ourselves.
We're making it easy for them. And the institutions. Their algorithms are literally designed to study that behavior. They know exactly where those clusters are hiding. The hard truth is that price isn't moving randomly. Institutions intentionally move price toward those clusters, not to be mean, but because they need those orders to fuel their own trades.
They're using our predictability against us.
They're using your predictability to solve their liquidity problem. If they want to buy big, they need you to sell. And where will you sell?
At my stop loss.
Exactly.
Okay, this is starting to click, but it still feels a little backwards. Let's get into the mechanics here. The sources talk about buy-side liquidity and sell-side liquidity. The names can be confusing. Can we break those down?
Let's do it. Let's start with buy-side liquidity, or BSL. This is located above the market price. So above old highs, above equal highs, or above resistance levels.
Okay, so looking at a chart, this is the area above the ceiling. Why is it called buy-side?
Just ask yourself, who has orders sitting up there above the ceiling?
Well, people who are short traders betting the price will go down. They'd put their buy stops up there to protect themselves.
Correct. If you're short, you have to buy to get out. So there's a pile of buy stops. Who else?
Breakout traders, the people who say, if it crosses this line, I'm buying.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you have buy stops from the anxious bears and buy orders from the excited breakout bulls. Both represent a huge surge of buying pressure.
Okay, so there's a flood of people wanting to buy above that high.
Now here is the critical inversion, the institutional play. If you're a bank and you want to sell a huge position, you want to offload millions of shares, who do you need?
You need buyers.
You need a lot of buyers. And where are they?
Oh, they are trapped above the eye.
Bingo. This is the mechanism. Institutions don't sell when price is dropping. That's panic selling. They push price UP specifically into that buy-side liquidity. They trigger all those buy stops and breakout orders. Suddenly, there's a flood of buying mania. And the institution, they're just happily selling into that flood.
That is diabolical. So when the price rips higher through a resistance level, and I'm thinking, yay, breakout, the big players are actually using my enthusiasm to exit their positions?
Or to go short. That's exactly right. And that's why you see the price spike up and then suddenly slam back down. They use the liquidity to fill their sell orders, and now the move is over. There's no one left to buy.
So let's flip it. Sell-side liquidity, SSL. This is below the lows.
To below the lows, below support, and it contains sell stops from people who are long and sell orders from people trying to trade a breakdown.
This is a pool of selling.
A pool of forced selling. So if an institution wants to BUY a massive position, they can't just buy. They need sellers. So what do? They push the price down, crash it through support. Everyone panics, stops get hit, breakout traders short the market.
And the institution is standing there with a giant bucket just catching all those sell orders by buying.
Exactly. They are buying into the sell-side liquidity. They're acquiring their position at a discount, using retail panic as their supply chain.
It really, really changes how you visualize a chart. You stop looking at the lines. You start looking above and below the line.
You're looking for the fuel. You know, we often talk about looking at a chart like a map. Most people look at the road, the price line itself. But you need to look for the gas stations. And the gas stations are above the highs and below the lows. That's where price has to go to refuel for the next big move.
I love that analogy. Okay, speaking of gas stations, there's one specific setup the sources call a liquidity magnet.
Hmm.
Equal highs and equal lows. Why are these so special?
The classic double top or double bottom. In Retail Trading 101, what are you taught about a double top?
It's a sign of strength. Resistance held twice, so it's super strong. Put your stop just above it. It's safe.
Right. And because everyone is taught that, literally millions of traders, what happens to the liquidity just sitting right above that level?
It effectively doubles. It becomes super concentrated.
Exactly. It becomes a magnet. And the sources are very, very clear on this rule. Equal highs and lows rarely hold. They exist to be taken.
To be taken.
To an institution, a double top isn't a strong ceiling. It's a target. It's a big, juicy steak sitting on the table. They know there is so much money sitting just millimeters above those highs. So the probability of price revisiting that level and punching through it is incredibly high.
So if I see a perfect double top, I shouldn't be thinking safe place for a stop. I should be thinking danger zone.
You should be thinking price is likely drawn to this area to clear it out. It attracts price like a magnet because the algorithm is designed to seek the deepest, most efficient pool of liquidity to transact business.
This leads us perfectly into the concept of the liquidity grab, or what a lot of people call a stop hunt. We've defined the what and the where, but what does it look like in real time? How do we spot it happening?
A liquidity grab is that intentional move into the stops to sell orders. And the visual signature is usually very distinct. You're looking for speed.
A fast spike.
A fast spike, yeah. Often you'll see a candle that moves very aggressively into a level, say, below a low, and then immediately rejects.
Leaving a long wick.
Exactly. That long wick is the smoking gun. It tells you a story. It says, price went down here, found the orders it needed, transacted huge volume, and then immediately got out of there.
And that immediate reaction is key, isn't it? It doesn't just hang around down there.
No. Once the orders are filled, there's no reason for price to stay there. In fact, now that the institution has filled their buy orders by crashing the price, they want the price to go up. So you often see an immediate acceleration in the opposite direction, that V-shaped recovery.
You know, hearing all this, on one hand, it makes so much sense. It explains why the market moves the way it does. But on the other hand, it goes back to that feeling we talked about at the start. It just feels rigged.
It's a natural reaction. When you see a stop hunt, it feels malicious. It feels personal. But the source material stresses a really important philosophy here. It is not personal.
It sure feels personal to my bank account.
I know it does. But it's really just normal institutional execution. It's the mechanics of how large volume must interact with available orders. The bank doesn't know you have a stop loss at 1.05. They just know there's a giant pool of liquidity at 1.05. They're running a business, and liquidity is their inventory.
So we need to stop playing the victim and start understanding the game.
Precisely. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. If you know that institutions need to raid stops to fill orders, you stop putting your orders where they're going to be raided. Or, even better, you start aligning your trades with them. You wait for the raid to happen, and then you enter.
That's the goal right there. Okay, so if we zoom out, we've covered a lot of ground. What does this all mean for us?
We have. And I think the summary is crucial here, because this is dense stuff. It's a completely different language than traditional analysis.
Okay, let's recap the journey. Point 1, why does price move?
Price moves to find orders. It seeks liquidity. It's not about patterns. It's about transactions.
Point 2, what is liquidity?
It's clusters of stop losses and pending orders. It's where traders are forced to transact, usually under pressure.
Point 3, who puts it there?
We do. Retail traders create the liquidity by being predictable, buying breakouts, selling support, hiding stops at all the obvious levels.
And finally, point 4, what do the institutions do with it?
They engineer the price to reach those levels. They sell into buy-side liquidity above the highs, and they buy into sell-side liquidity below the lows. They use our orders to get in or out of their own massive positions.
It's almost like the market is a mirror. If you want to know what the smart money is doing, look at what the retail crowd is doing and assume the opposite is about to happen.
That's a very healthy way to look at it. And the relevance of all this is, really, it's about protection. If you understand liquidity, you stop being the fuel for someone else's move. You stop funding the bank's next bonus check.
And that is a win in my book.
It transforms trading from a game of guessing where a line is going to go to a game of understanding where the money is hiding.
I love that phrase, where the money is hiding.
It's always hiding in plain sight, above the highs and below the lows.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've talked a lot about how predictability is your enemy.
It is. If you're predictable, you're exploitable.